Hello, I'm Mario, and today's video is centered around the Haloview video system, the one that's designed for use with RVs. So if you're into the RV style, then you're probably familiar with the maybe the Furrion cameras, or there's a couple others out there as an option. But yeah, so today specifically what I'm going to be dealing with is the Haloview camera system. And so I need to break this up into different videos. So this specific video, this first video in the series, I'm going to be installing the rear view camera. So I'm going to concentrate on that and then progress on to the other cameras like the side views and whatnot. And this is going to be specifically around my Geo Pro travel trailer. So yes, I do have a Rockwood Geo Pro travel trailer. This is my toy hauler behind me here. As you can see, I do have the video camera installed there. That part was successful. We're definitely going to cover that today. And but yeah, as far as the video series, I think what I want to do is I want to encompass just my general needs around video and then put that all into this one playlist. But yeah, we're definitely going to start with the Haloview system. And what I did was I used the this came with that Furrion rear camera mount. So this was from the factory. Rockwood provided this on my Geo Pro travel trailer, a little wire that goes back there so that I can hook up a rear view camera. And so that's pretty common. Furrion will have that. It'll be pre-wired for video cameras, or maybe another analogy would be pre-wired for solar. Oh man, yeah, my arm was getting a little tired there. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that this is also going to be centered around my Chevy Colorado. So with that Haloview product, when you buy different kits, I mean, there's different kits available, but at any rate, you can have triggers. So maybe you want to just push a button and have one camera come on, or just have it hooked up to the turn signal. So there's triggers that you can use. You can provide 12 volt to this wire or 12 volt to another wire, and then so that will create different functionality for the system. And so that's why I want to mention the Chevy Colorado. So I'll be working with the Chevy Colorado to get some of that functionality. That'll be later on down the road, starting with the rear view camera and then branching out to the turn signal ones. I bought the Wi-Fi extender, so I have a really short trailer. I don't think my rear view camera is going to need the Wi-Fi extender, but I do have it. And I also have another camera that perhaps I can mount it to the front of my pickup truck. So yeah, crazy wild ideas in store. But yeah, let's kick off. Let's get started with what I have with this Haloview product, with the specifics, and also get to installing that rear view camera. So let's review the contents of the box. And then, so I've had this for quite a while, and I'm finally now getting around to actually using it. So this is not the condition it was shipped to me in. It was packaged very well, and I'm just trying to review the contents here inside the box. And to start off, yeah, they have obviously some user manuals, and then so they have a separate manual for the actual monitor itself, and then a separate manual for the different types of cameras that you get, and also a little slip that explains technical specifications for the cameras. In my case, I have a digital camera with a 1/2 inch CMOS, and yeah, there's standards for both NTSC and PAL. And then so next up we have the actual monitor here, and it's got some functionality using tactile buttons. It also comes with an antenna that directly screws into the monitor itself. And then there's just one wire coming out of the monitor here, and then so what connects to this is basically the power source, and then each of the triggers that you can send voltage to in order to change settings on the monitor itself. And each component does come packaged inside its own little styrofoam separator thingamajig, and it's a comprehensive kit, not overly complicated. For example, here's some different adapters here if you want to supply power to the monitor and bypass the harness with all the triggers. Here we have the adapter. This is what they refer to as like the BMW adapter. So you can use this little cable here to plug in the to adapt the cigar lighter device that they provided and connect it to the monitor. You need this to kind of go in between the monitor and the little 12-volt supply module. And here's another little adapter to manage your 12-volt power supply. And you can maybe just hardwire it directly. You don't have to use the cigar lighter either, so this adapter is versatile. Since I have the Wi-Fi extender, they provided me some little zip ties so that I can actually connect the cable, the extender cable, to the roof without it flying around in the wind. And then the cables, you can get different lengths. And then here is the actual Wi-Fi signal booster, so you'd plug this to the other end of the cable extender. The cameras themselves are, these ones here are 720p, and this one is specific to using the Wi-Fi extender, so you have to plug the cable into this one. So this doesn't have the option to plug the antenna. And so the little batwing configuration thing, it has its own little rubber seal. And what I like about this, it has a nice little backer plate too. So I like it. I like this case. But you also get a sunshade hood, and that's kind of nice so that you can try to help manage some of the glare. And then you also get different mounting options. So you can mount a bracket, or you have these, I think they call them like a T-slot or something. There's the standard bracket in the back of the monitor also. And so they provide one mount that has that you can put on your dashboard. And like I said, this has that thing that just slides into the back of the monitor. And speaking of different mounts, I did opt to get a couple accessories, and so these are just metal plates that if you have a really flat surface, you can glue this metal plate, and then that way you could just use like a magnetic mount and just pull the monitor on and off as you please. And it does seem like they try to think of everything. I mean, you get like you could split out your sources for your 12-volt supply, a little 12-volt splitter here, and another little adapter. If you're using the Wi-Fi extender, then you're going to need to bring in some power, so they provide a little splitter so that you can have power near the battery or at a different location. So this just kind of splits out the power from that cable. Now the side view cameras, they come with their own turn signal. So the camera itself, it's transmitting the signal, via Wi-Fi, but the kit, it comes with its own little turn signal, and so you just kind of hardwire into the running lights, and then the turn signal wires in your trailer. And these turn signals, they are LED style turn signals. So in my case, like I have LEDs, it's not like I'm necessarily downgrading, but they do have the older, the older oval shape that is typical with trailers. So you just got to connect the antenna. They have specific antennas for the cameras. You just connect that, and then, yeah, camera's As long as you're within range, you can receive the signal. The camera just needs a little bit of voltage and it's off and running. And yeah, and each camera comes with its own little hardware kit and antenna, so that's totally cool. It's labeled camera. And the extra camera that I bought is kind of like the security camera that would go over your porch or whatever, I guess, so you can greet people. And so, as I mentioned, one camera might use like the Wi-Fi extender, but then this one here doesn't use the Wi-Fi extender. Just you know, like the side views, you just screw in an antenna here, and then it's off to the races. Let's get started by mounting that camera with the antenna on the rear of my Geo Pro travel trailer. So I have the Furrion bracket in place here, and so what I want to do is just kind of clean the area. I'm just using straight water, and then these 4 screws here, this is where the Furrion camera would mount to the Furrion bracket. And there are Haloview cameras that you can mount in that area using an adapter, but I'm just going to go ahead and remove this entire bracket. I don't need it. So I'm going to go after these 4 screws here that actually screw into the trailer itself. So let's take a peek inside and see what we've got. There should be a wire here, and seems to be coming off pretty easily. Looks like Geo Pro provided plenty of extra cable. It's all jammed up in here. So I'll just pull this wire out. And it looks like there's a little connector here, so I can easily connect a Furrion camera to this power source. So this is just 12-volt power. And it looks like Geo Pro, they put some sealant on the top, but it seems to have reacted to the rubber gasket here. A little bit of dirt on the inside, so it doesn't look like it was sealed really well. And yeah, one of the screws for sure had some moisture around it. So I have to try to remove all of this sealant stuff here. So I'm just using some water, and you can see this stuff had left marks. It just took a little bit of rain and that rubber gasket started deteriorating. I'm going to guess maybe rain and sunshine combined together. I mean, that's really rubber, and it looks like there's a little plastic cover for the little 12-volt DC adapter, power adapter plug thing. So that's what that looks like. The hole itself doesn't have a whole lot of space to accommodate cable. There's styrofoam in the, there's a styrofoam core inside the wall, so there's just not a huge void there. There's styrofoam in there, so there's not a lot of space for wire. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this Furrion case here. This is what the case looks like, but yeah, we're not going to be using this, so no need for the Furrion adapter plate that is provided with Haloview in my case, because I have a replacement bat wing thingamajig. And so here's the camera I'm going to replace it with, but it doesn't connect, the 12-volt supply doesn't connect directly, so that's like Furrion specific. So I need a different solution here, and this is what the wire looks like on the Geo Pro here. I'll just take a closer look, see what sort of gauge this is, and yeah, it's a really small gauge. So I'm actually going to have to use another set of wire strippers that I have. This regular one here isn't going to cut it. Super thin cable. Really, really thin and dainty. So this is the Haloview camera here, and this is the adapter, so I could use this adapter here that came from Haloview that connects easily, so I could connect and disconnect the camera. But the problem is it just won't fit inside the case, so it's kind of like I could probably just get that little connector thing inside, but then there's no room for any wire or anything else. And I think what this translates to is that I'm just going to have to cut this connector off, and I'm just going to go ahead and strip the wires back and solder the connection and make it a permanent connection. Not really what I planned on, but I'm thinking that's the best solution. This ain't gonna fit. There's just no room. So there's not a lot of slack here, so I'm just gonna cut that connector off and then prep this wire connected, that's this wire that's connected to the Haloview camera. Just prep it, get it ready for soldering. So I'll have to strip back the insulation, and that's not the easiest thing to do. I'll just start by cutting the end here, and then try not to stretch out the wires inside. Just kind of pull back on the wires, get to a certain spot, and then I'll pull back on the insulation without the wire back there, and then but yeah, this wire seems like it's a little more durable than the one that's inside the Geo Pro travel trailer. So just strip this and be ready for action. Really small gauge, similar gauge. So I'll just cut the end and get a nice clean area stripped for the soldering. And I'm just going to put like a larger piece of shrink tube on one end, and then on the other end I think I'll put a thinner piece of shrink tubing. So I'll put the idea here is I want to try to isolate the two solder points, so I don't want to create a short circuit or some sort of ground fault issue. And then here I'm got things ready to solder. Just so happens that I do have a little vise with a suction cup. Got it kind of braided together, really just twisted. The wires are so thin. Alright, well I got it soldered together. I don't know, this is a mess, total hack job. I don't know what the heck happened. So this solder just didn't want to heat up and work. I think the solder was contaminated. It did say Radio Shack on the solder, and I'm thinking that I actually walked into a Radio Shack and purchased this solder. Well, I tried to do the heat shrink tubing, and I managed to melt the insulation on the wire that is on the Geo Pro side. So the wire that was provided by Geo Pro did not stand up to the heat. So I need to start over. So attempt number 1 didn't work. So let's take a look and see if the heat gun did any damage other than the area that was fully exposed. So maybe under the heat shrink it's not any issue, but it's just that the fact that I put heat directly to the wire is probably what caused the issue, because I want to use the heat shrink again. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I was able to effectively use the heat shrink without damaging the wire. It's just that I heated up that one wire just by putting direct heat onto it. So alright, I'll be able to use the heat shrink. So here's attempt number 2. I used different solder. It was much more effective. So I had to throw that other solder out that said Radio Shack on it. Ironically, I used another thing of solder that also said Radio Shack on it, but this one seemed to work. I think I need new supplies. So what I want to do is clean up the area with acetone, that rubber residue that was on there from the factory. I'm talking about the Geo Pro travel trailer has that rubber seal from the original bracket. So I want to get some of that. I want to get all that stuff off with some acetone. Using the acetone was effective, and it wasn't very difficult to get that residue, that rubber residue, off. And so I didn't go crazy with the acetone, but I do want to use some isopropyl alcohol to remove any of the acetone there, so that way that the acetone residue itself is fully removed using the the rubbing alcohol. So I'll just clean up that surface with some rubbing alcohol here. And so that's cleaning up very nicely, and I'm happy with how it's cleaning up. But as I'm cleaning, I notice that I don't have the bracket seal attached here. So in other words, I didn't run the wire through the rubber seal and the backer plate for my Haloview bracket. So that's a problem. So I'll have to cut the wire again and feed it through. So this is attempt number 3 at soldering these wires. At least I'm getting my practice in. But one thing I do want to mention is that on these, on the wire that is in the Geo Pro travel trailer, the one that came supplied from Geo Pro, it has like this little fiberglass insulator, isolator, something. Maybe it helps with near-in crosstalk, or I don't know. I don't know why they put it in there. I'm not an expert. But at any rate, before I solder it, I want to make sure that I cut that away, cut that out from the area that I'm soldering. All right, got everything done. I have the shrink wrap done. I isolated the positive from the negative and got my bracket in place. I can actually fold the heat shrink tubing in half and fit it inside the little bracket. So everything fits in there just fine without compromising the solder. And I got everything lined up. It should work, right? So I'll just get the backer plate fastened to the batwing bracket. So there's just 4 little screws. So I'm just going to screw that into the Haloview provided hardware. And yeah, then I just got 4 screws. I'm reusing the deck screws from Geo Pro. So those 4 screws that go into the back of the trailer. This one's a little hard to get to because of that little antenna thingamajig, but it gets in there, and just I'm reusing the original holes. I just got to kind of make sure things are lined up okay, and they are. Yeah, just connect the antenna and I should be ready to go. And yeah, there's room for the antenna. I think I can get it kind of straight up and down without any issue here. I should have tested that circuit before I installed the camera, but you know, I'm not very smart. So at any rate, in order to test the camera, the rear camera that I've mounted, I'm going to have to supply electricity to the trailer. So I believe it's going to always be on when the when I'm hooked up and towing. So I just need to bring the battery power maybe to the tail lights, or the running lights rather, and then that should work. So I'm going to bridge that right now. What I use is I just use the keyway at the top of the plug. Just those top 2 are the ones that I use. And so one is a connection for the running lights, and then the other connection is to the battery. And all of the running lights are on, so I should be able to go into my truck and test out the monitor, get it plugged into power, and see if I can sync that monitor up to this camera. All right, well, I'm inside the truck, and I'm in the back of the truck because I'm going to use the cigar lighter adapter thing provided by Haloview. And the reason why I'm in the back is just so I don't have the truck running, and just to help with audio. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into my battery bank, and then there's a little adapter in between the head unit and the cigar lighter thingamajig. So there's regular 12 volt thingamajig here, plugs into this 12-volt adapter, and this little wire in between the head unit, that's just a little adapter converter thing. I think it twists. I don't know. I got it in there now, so it's in there good. But yeah, I'm just going to test this out, so I'll plug it in. And there's a little, so I don't have a light here, but there's a little switch, so I depressed that switch. Now I have a light here. Now I'm going to hit the power button. Nothing. Oh, there it goes. So it's synced up. Cool. I'm totally happy about that. So it's listing it as cam 3, and so so this thing's set up, and I might have mentioned it before, but there's triggers, like you turn the left signal on and then the left signal camera comes on, so you can program this to, you know, be focused on one camera, and then when the trigger hits, then the layout changes, because you can have several cameras displayed at once, or at any rate you can do side-by-sides. So that has to do with the instructions going into the settings. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that the camera that I mounted when it came in the kit, I grabbed the camera that's supposed to go like over the porch, and it's not the rear view camera, so I'll have to go into the settings and fiddle with that. But yeah, I mean, we met the objective. It's here, it's working. Oh my gosh. Okay, whew. Got the initial objective on and taken care of, so I'm happy about that. I got this thing, you know, I got the main deal working, so it's just a matter of doing some fine tuning. I'll go more into the settings. Like I said, there's going to be other videos, so I'll go more into the settings and stuff when I start playing around with the turn signal ones. And yeah, very cool. And then so I think that's it. That concludes this video. It works. I met the objective. I'm so happy I got this thing up and running. The kit's comprehensive. The kit works. My main issue was just some fumbling around with adapting it to my travel trailer, you know, whatever. So all right, folks, tune into the next video when I got some more cameras, and I don't want to turn this one into too long of a video. So appreciate it, folks. Take care. See you in the next video.